He's Larry Scott, the Pac-12 commissioner, which I believe he's been in that office since 2009. Kind enough to join us. Good morning, Commissioner. How are you?
I'm doing well, Dan. Good to be with you.
Where do we stand with what is real and not real as far as contingency plans of? And the reason why I say this, I preface this: the NFL owners were told don't talk about hypotheticals. Are you telling coaches let's not have hypotheticals with the Pac-12 and what we can think will be football in the fall?
We just got out of a week of meetings with our football coaches, and one of the key things we were discussing is scenario planning. I think it's top of mind for everyone.
Yeah.
We are planning a full season, planning to start on time, but it's so unpredictable what's going to happen. And so we're spending a lot of time, not only within our league, but with our peers in the other conferences, thinking about what does plan B, C, D, and E look like. I mean, everyone is feeling some optimism at the moment. Plan A for sure is starting the season on time, getting a full season, and that's what we're working toward. But for sure, we've discussed other options, and we'll be ready if we need to move to those.
How often do you talk to the other commissioners?
Well, we've actually been on the phone every morning for me on the West Coast, since this really started escalating back in March, and we had to shut down our basketball tournaments. We all, jumped into coordinating what we were going to do as we realized this pandemic was escalating quickly and it could impact our basketball tournament. So we started a process that second week in March. I was in Las Vegas at our basketball tournament there, and we were all trying to calibrate. And in a period of 24 hours, it's surreal. We went from, okay, we're starting our tournaments on time on Tuesday. I think we may get through this, to later in the day, we connected and say we might have to, eliminate fans, to the next morning, all deciding we're canceling our tournaments completely. That was after we saw what happened to Rudy Gobert the night before. Woke up that next morning on Wednesday, having spoken to my presidents and athletics directors, said to my fellow commissioners, could you imagine if that happened at a college basketball tournament? You saw one of our student athletes kind of visibly ill and kind of escorted off the court. We've got a responsibility to shut this down right now. Since that time, every single weekday, we've been on a phone call talking about a plethora of issues we've had to deal with in terms of the shutdown. Now, how are we dealing with our student athletes in a virtual world, and what does coming back look like on what pace? And in college, there's not one decision maker, especially when it comes to football. We all work together on the college football playoff, the season, non-conference games, bowls, neutral site games. So, it requires an extraordinary level of coordination.
If a Pac-12 school can't have students on campus, can they play football?
I don't believe we're going to play football if students can't be brought back safely to campus. I don't think we're going to treat student athletes or football players as some special class. I don't think we've got the ability to quarantine them and put them in a bubble the way some pro sports might. Now, what does students coming back to campus mean? It might mean different things for different schools. I've been in touch with all of our university presidents, and they're all working through their own scenarios, but it's not going to be, the new normal is not going to be the old normal. I think there's going to be hybrid situations in all likelihood in terms of class size. Maybe it's not all students coming back at once, but I do believe student athletes will be amongst the earliest groups to be allowed to come back.
What I was told a couple of weeks ago by a source was that you're going to see football when it does come back, that the conferences are just going to be playing conference games. And it was probably going to be a 10-game schedule. Now, you might get one outlier where Ohio State plays Ohio University or something that's regional there. How does that jive with what you've been told?
Well, I can tell you, anyone that's telling you now, sitting here in the middle of May, what it's going to be, and they're giving you the inside scoop, isn't a very good source, because I'm the one having the conversations with our peer conferences and our presidents, and we don't know.
But has that been discussed, just what I told you?
Absolutely. That's a
Okay.
scenario.
Okay.
If we can't play a full season and get the full 12 weeks plus the postseason, that would be a natural abbreviated season.
Okay.
You could move to conference only. For us, that would be 9 games. And yes, as I mentioned, we got multiple scenarios. That's not what we're planning on, but that's always an option. That would be the easiest default option, right? That's what schools can control. And frankly, that's the priority. Our schools like playing each other, but at the moment, we're planning on the full season.
Yeah, well, that once again, my source is saying that if when college football comes back, this is what he was told that it's going to look like. You're going to have conferences playing conference games and maybe one game outside. Also, could you see a scenario where not every school is back, not every school takes part in a college football season?
Yeah, of course that's possible. Each, president and chancellor or board of trustees, will make that ultimate decision for themselves. But we've always, as a league and collectively as the five big conferences and beyond, moved together. And that's the bias everyone's got. We want to try to get a full season. If we're going to get a full football season, there's 3 weeks of non-conference games, which requires collective action. There are bowl games. The college football playoff is governed by the 10 conferences plus Notre Dame. So we have to work together if we're going to get a full season. And it's my expectation in our league. We've always made joint decisions about how we shut down. I think we're going to make joint decisions about how we, ramp back up and play.
And I'm wondering who tells you, is it the White House that goes down to the governors? Is it the NCAA? Is it chancellors, presidents? Is there a pecking order here, Commissioner?
Yeah, well, yes, we all have higher authorities that we report to, whether it's at home or at work. But yeah, in this case, it's actually a complicated rubric of how decisions get made. And at the end of the day, public health authorities will decide what it appears to me at the moment. I've been on call with the vice president, as he's tried to figure out the implications for college football with my peers, with governors' offices and all that. It appears at the moment that these decisions have really been delegated to the states and counties, that public health officials will have the ultimate say about return to work scenarios, and that's kind of where we fit in. It's also clear that decisions will be different about when it's okay to play versus the whole issue of when fans can come to stadium. I think those things are getting a little bit conflated. But I think the NFL has felt confident they could announce their schedule and that they're intending to play. MLB yesterday has obviously felt comfortable they could announce they're going to start in July, if I understood it right. And I think if we get to the point where we announce we're intending to start, we would have a level of comfort with the discussions we've had directly and through our schools with public health officials that they feel comfortable we got the protocols in place. And that's also probably not getting as much discussion out there as it deserves. I'm spending as much time with medical experts as I am with our coaches, athletics directors, and presidents right now. And one of the few advantages that college has, if you think about schools in our conference, UCLA, Stanford, Washington, we got some of the leading university hospitals and medical schools in the country. So we've got a world-class medical advisory board working on this with us and for us, not just our sports doctors and trainers, but I've got heads of the infectious disease departments at some of these leading schools in the country on an advisory board helping us write these protocols. These are the same people that are advising the White House, that are advising governors, that are advising other public health officials. So I feel confident that we're going to be, kind of at the forefront of the health and safety protocols for our student athletes. And hopefully, if we think we're ready, that'll bring some comfort to the governors and the other public health officials that ultimately have to give us the green light.
He's Larry Scott, Pac-12 commissioner. Before that, a pretty good tennis player. The best player you ever played against was who, Larry?
John McEnroe. He was. I grew up in New York on Long Island, and he was a sparring partner, or I was his sparring partner, I should say. And that was always a lot of fun. In an actual match, probably Andre Agassi. Probably the best win I ever had was in a doubles match against him. He happened to have been 15 years old at the time, and I was 19. There was one of his early.
It's okay. You didn't have to throw that in. It's okay. It's a W.
Book, the record book doesn't show his age. So,
It's a
so
W. Did
some fun moments.
McEnroe ever yell at you?
Oh, yeah. he was, his persona. I'm having fun a little bit watching The Last Dance, as you guys probably are, and I'm thinking back about John and Yvonne Lendl, another guy I used to hit with, and there's something about these superstars in terms of the mindset, the mentality, and we've all kind of celebrated the Mamba mentality. And when I think about tennis, I think about guys like John McEnroe, Jimmy Connors, Lendl. The singular focus, perfection, and getting the most out of themselves, and this kind of unrelenting desire to win and compete at everything that they would do. And I see some really fascinating similarities with these athletes that become elite in whatever sport it is.
Yeah, but you know what? You're trapped by yourself. There is greatness,
Yeah.
but those people, they're like Michael Jordan is trapped by Michael Jordan. Like he can't get out of this. We can turn the channel. We can go on with our life. Mike stays in this world. McEnroe stays in that world. Pete Sampras in that world. And that's something that people forget about. We can escape. They can't escape themselves.
Yeah. Well, there's genius, I think, in this world, whether it's in sports and otherwise, requires a type of singular focus and being on a certain end of the spectrum that doesn't always make you the most well-rounded.
We got to spruce up your office. That's not your man cave, is it?
It's a section of my man cave. My kids, I've got 3 teenagers at home during this quarantine, and they've taken over my man cave where I watch games when I'm not traveling. It's now a PlayStation and gaming center. So I'm pigeonholed here in this little corner of the man cave.
Yeah, we got to spruce that up, though, Commish. Got to spruce it up a little bit.
Send me some stuff.
Yeah.
I'll put it in my background.
Hey, good luck with this. We appreciate your time. Thank you, Larry.
Thanks, Dan. Good to see you guys.
That's Larry Scott, Pac-12 Commissioner.